أهلا بكم مشاهدينا. أنا كورين فرحات أرحب بكم من نيويورك، وحوار أجريته مع المهندس المعماري اللبناني الأصل ميشيل عبود، أبرز المهندسين المعماريين المعاصرين. ميشيل الذي استهواه عالم الفن منذ الصغر درس الهندسة وأكمل دراسته في جامعة كولومبيا المرموقة. اتخذ من نيويورك مقرا لمكتب الهندسة الخاص به سوما أركيتكتس، وبين نيويورك وبيروت يغزو العالم بمشاريعه الهندسية التي تتميز بالأشكال المنسابة والمستقبلية وباستخدامه لأحدث التقنيات المتوافرة، ما مكنه من الحصول على عدة جوائز عالمية. مشواره من لبنان إلى نيويورك فالعالمية في هذا اللقاء الحصري.
When I was in architecture school, and we used to read about those geniuses and these names, Jean Nouvel and Zaha Hadid and Renzo Piano and Norman Foster, it never even crossed my mind that one day I would be listed among them. And I would be, besides Jean Nouvel, designing projects in New York. And now that I'm thinking about it for the first time, now that in this interview, I'm realizing that it is an achievement and I never realized it till this moment. I was born in Beirut in 1977. My childhood in war-torn Lebanon was very influenced and very affected by the environment and the situation and the struggles that we had to live through. And we'll be driving through the city, and I'll be looking out the window as a child at the age of 3, 4, and 5, as early as I can remember, and I would see this destruction around me. And I would think in my head that I've always wanted to fix them. That was the source element that made me want to become an architect at a young age. Just this desire to want to fix things that were destroyed around me. At the age of 13, I discovered art, and that was the first and great passion of my life till today. And I've wanted to become a painter. So architecture was my backup plan. It was actually my plan B, and I went into it. I did do my undergrad studies at the American University, UB, and then I went to Paris to work, for a little less than a year. And I applied to Columbia and I got accepted immediately. And I left everything and I just came here. And when I came here, I just felt at home immediately. Like New York and the US is my adopted country, but I've never felt as home as much as I have felt here. And it's been the environment, the fertile soil that has allowed me to flourish and to grow as a human being, as a person, and also as a professional. And so I'm grateful for that. And in February '04, I opened my office officially and incorporated Soma in New York. It comes from two things. First, I was reading this book by Aldous Huxley called The Brave New World, where he's describing Soma as the miracle pill that makes everybody happy. And also discovered that Soma is the Greek word for the physical body of things. I had to build everything from scratch. So persistency, I would say, is the strongest or most important quality that one has to have in the world of architecture in order to make it. The core mission of Soma changes over time, but it's always been around the mission impossible of the architectural world, is when a client comes to us with a very difficult task or a very complex program or an impossible timeline, and we're just able to deliver. We have projects all around the world. Today we've built projects in obviously North America, East and West Coast, New York, LA, Palm Springs, Washington, and the Middle East region, particularly Dubai, Qatar, Lebanon, and we've gone up to Azerbaijan, passing by Kurdistan, and even gotten as low as Sudan and Africa and North Africa. Our practice relies mostly on repeat business with select group of developers and clients. We just want to satisfy the client, meet their brief or exceed it, their timeline, their budget especially, which is one of the strongest points that we pride ourselves in. But once this is done, we have to take the project to the next level. We have to push the boundary. We have to provide something that has not been done and redone many times before. There are huge differences in designing in New York and the Middle East. It's like night and day. There's pros and cons in each market, to be honest. In New York, I would say the process of coming up with a project is extremely complex on the pre-development side. So before the project gets executed, it's just so complex. But then once construction starts, it is fast, it's efficient, and the building gets knocked down in 2 years. Right? In the Middle East, they have something called pre-sales. You start selling, finance the project from sales, and then take 8 years to build the building. What characterizes my philosophy or describes a little bit, just in retrospect, what we've been doing over the years has been a boundary pushing, out of the box, bespoke, tailor-made thinking per project. Many architects, especially the ones that reach a certain level of notoriety or stardom, have a style, right, that is recognized, that is their style. You know, Frank Gehry, Zaha Hadid, they have a style that you can almost recognize or name their buildings just by looking at them. And I don't see it that way. I take on every project as a completely independent entity with its own client, brief, context, mission, and work on it in an almost no context vis-a-vis other projects that we have done in the firm or my personal preferences. I presented a tiny beach house in Lebanon at the Design Award in New York. And then the jury met and oversaw 750 projects, some of the most important firms in the world. They selected my project, that beach house that I had done, you know, a year before, as the winning project. That made me feel good. And that was the first time where I felt that as a, you know, small country, you know, a Lebanese country kind of guy, I had a shot. Like, you know what? I had a shot. Like, if I could do it for that, then maybe I could do it for bigger, greater things. That was a decisive moment for me. Let's say just recently we won the Architizer A+ award for, you know, the Wave building that we finished in Beirut. And we were happy, right? We were happy that for the first time in the history of Lebanon, a building that is built and finished and published wins the Architizer A+ award. And that had never happened before. When we won the award for the James Beard Award for a tiny, tiny little restaurant, like called Workshop, in a tiny, tiny little town called Palm Springs in the Coachella Desert. And wins the James Beard Award, which is like the Oscar award for the hospitality world. I have many times compared photographs of finished projects to renderings of an unbuilt project before it gets built and overlaid them, and they're always indistinguishable. And for me, this is an achievement, to be able to build the idea as I conceived it in as flawless manner as I possibly can. That's the real key to, you know, succeeding in that particular mission. The type of projects that are very immersed in the latest, most progressive digital tools and technologies, namely parametric design and software. For example, in Wave, we had the main facade of the building that was oriented to the south. So we created a second skin, a parametricized second skin that acts as a sun-breaking system. However, it also acts, because of its white color and flat 60 centimeter deep louvers, as a system of light shelves that not only break the light rays of the sun, but also reflect it and diffuses it deeper into the living quarters. That's an example of how digital tools allow you to do things that would have not been possible 10 and 15 years ago. It was also implemented in Unilux, where we created a system of modular 50 by 50 by 50 centimeter cubes, white cubes, that would just adapt to the needs and requirements of the retailer. However, we also have a more organic, more conventional approach to design, where, especially on projects of what we call today uber luxury, right? I'm much more at ease designing in a strong context. I have another project called Bobo in Beirut, where we designed a building in such a complex environment. It was this very old city fabric, and we designed a glass building, and then when we filed for the permit, they told us that an existing house, a 200-year-old house that was on site, was suddenly classified, landmark basically, and could not be demolished after we already finished designing the project on the basis that that house had to be demolished because of structural integrity. So we had to come up with a structural solution where our new building would literally cantilever completely over an old house. That's an achievement. That is being a mission impossible team of architecture. Or the Calypso house that is being hit by 25-foot waves, and it's a glass house on a 2.5-story structure, meaning the waves are taller than the entire structure. And the building, the house is built in the water, meaning it had no land to be founded on. But also, lately we've done this piece for House of Today. I don't usually do furniture pieces, but that particular piece, I was invited by them to do it, and I accepted because it was a piece that had to be inspired by Beirut. We were able to take the urban fabric of Beirut over various centuries and then extracted them in a 3D space that was just purely sliced in the dimension of a coffee table, and just built that with a local manual welder. So I would say I am rooted and linked to my heritage.
بعد الفاصل، ميشيل عبود يبني نجاحاته بين الهندسة والرسم.